committee, unless I'm mistaken.
Who's that?
Perhaps you or Councilor Rankin could
manage this one?
manage this one.
Yeah.
I think you are, Paul, aren't you?
Oh, listen to that. Yeah, sure. No. Yep. I very well could be, and I apologize if I am. So with that said,
I think I was last year, and you were the first meeting we had.
there we go. All right, then. Well, then I will call this the committee meeting for the infrastructure and property to order at 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Roll call. Ed Rankin.
Here.
Mark Eastman is absent this evening, and Paul Bissonnette is here. The only item on the agenda this evening is the discussion of street sweeper, and we have Matt and Jay from the Highway Department here. But Sue, I don't know if you want to kick it off or.
Jay and Matt have been talking with me for some time about the deteriorating condition of our current street sweeper, and recently had the opportunity to there's available a demonstrator model that is considerably less expensive than if we were to buy one that wasn't a demo, and is available without ordering. But Jay and Matt are here to. You had a packet that I put on the your Google Drive that had some pictures as well as a memo from Jay about that replacement, and they can fill you in on sort of where it all stands and what we use it for and its frequency and all that kind of thing. Jay?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Well, there's been some developments this afternoon at about the close of business that we called to confirm the availability of all these units that we had given you the information on. And it turns out that the demo model has been sold as of yesterday. So all the work that we did to gather all this information and put together has now changed. They did some digging for us. This company Allied that was offering the demo model from last year, and they're saying that they have another one in their big company. It's in the country somewhere that was just built to be this year's demo model, and they haven't actually demonstrated it yet. And it's about $20,000 more money than that demo that they were offering for last year. So I was pretty disappointed, to say the least. But it's the same exact machine. It's all the same options. It's the same chassis. It just doesn't have any hours on it, the machine they're offering now. So with that being said, they still offer the same trade-in value for our old machine. So the next best offer that was there was the machine from Viking, and they offered a Johnston machine. Well, that's based out of Canada, and I'm hoping that the availability wouldn't be an issue because of the border and things crossing the border right now. But with those two things there, the new machine that they came up with, the price ended up being $284,000 instead of the $263 that was offered before. And when it all boils down, the other two machines are now within $400 of each other. So there's not like a clear, really good deal like there was before. So then it's a matter of how do we feel about funding that big a purchase?
Jay, quick question. Have you
Yes.
looked into us renting, I mean, or contracting this job out? I mean, 4,000 hours on a used machine that we had for 25 years doesn't seem like we're using this a lot for a $300,000 purchase. I think if we checked into, we could probably rent quite a few hours for $300,000, couldn't we?
Well, the hours on that are showing on the vacuum unit on the back, which was replaced 10 plus years ago. So that's only showing half or less than half the actual usage that the machine has performed. But yes, you're right. There's an option for contracting out, but you have to remember that we don't just do regular maintenance on the streets. That machine we use cleaning up almost everything. We get called to support the water company doing projects. We clean up after when we're doing the projects on the floats, and when we bring those in and out, picking up big materials. And we used it all this past 2 seasons supporting our shoulder projects. I don't know how I'd manage that if we were going to try to contract out for all those other tasks that we do on a daily basis.
Well, personally, I'd like to see for $300,000. I'd like to at least see a proposal. That's a lot of money for a piece of equipment that is at times seems like it's nice to have.
Yeah, I
What's
agree
that?
that it's a big purchase, but I don't see any reason that another machine wouldn't last a long time compared to like our plow trucks. It would be a lot longer life. I mean, we went 25 years with that chassis, and our normal life on a plow truck is 10 years. But I can certainly try to find some numbers for you on contracting. I struggle with trying to manage a contractor all the time to get the same level of service that you're going to get with a vehicle in-house.
In the cleanouts, Jay, that we're mandated to do those, or was it like 275 or something like that?
Yes, we have to maintain all the catch basins in town to keep up with the DEP requirements. It's an annual thing, yes.
Okay.
What's the warranty that's offered on, Jay, if you know offhand, on both models? The one from
both models from the different companies, they're basically a 2-year bumper to bumper type of one. I'm not sure if there's an option for an extended that you could purchase, but they offer a 2-year warranty.
Matt, what are you seeing? The pictures are a little bit hard to see, but it looks like the drum is like half rotted out.
Yeah, the very front of that is where it gets a lot of the air that's filtered up through, and it's just rusted through. We've patched it several times over the last 4 or 5 years. It doesn't filter like it should. I know if you see it going down the road, you'll see a little more dust coming out the top of it than it should have. It just, the filters aren't doing their job because the metal around them is disappearing.
Okay.
And I'm not doubting we need something new. I'm just questioning the process that we go about getting the job done.
To have a bid beside the price of the new one, just so we could see it face to face.
That's all I look at. If we get a contract that's, pick a number, $10,000 a year, for 20 years, that goes a long ways towards, the price of a brand new one up front, or even financed.
If we're looking for a contract comparison, this contract comparison should compare to the work that this machine currently does? Because the maintenance of the catch basins and street sweeping and project cleanup is that there's a basic contract, but as much as it's used on as cleanup after about everything that we do, I'm not quite sure how we're going to build that into a contract to provide an apples to apples comparison of cost. We can certainly find out what the hourly rental is or daily rental is for street sweepers, and then figure out how many equivalent days a year that we use it and price it that way. I guess probably that's the fairest way, because someone isn't going to contract to do whatever we tell them for $10,000. It's going to most likely be based, as most equipment is, on an hourly or daily.
Well, I mean, that's what I would assume, that we would figure out the amount of jobs we have. I mean, when you look at Jay's monthly report, there's usually 2 or 3 days of street sweeping in there. So we can't be talking more than 20 to 30 days that we're using that.
Yeah, I mean, when I log days with a street sweeper, it's when I designate a person in that machine and he's running it for the day. But I don't necessarily include that in my report when they're doing just odd jobs, and it's just part of the daily routine. But I mean, I agree. We could probably get easy enough an estimate or a price on sucking out the catch basins. But it would be hard to come up with something for the sweeping aspect. But we can see what we can do, yeah.
We can look at a price for catch basin cleanup. That's a specific task, because if you get somebody else, if we're renting equipment and using it ourselves, it's one thing. If we're hiring a company that does this, that's something else. You're paying for the person and the machine, and that would be a bit different. But certainly the catch basin portion, and then simply the cost, either if there's per day, per week, per hour for that kind of machinery. We can then factor in what we're using it for. But like catch basin cleanings, we know how many we've got, we know how long it takes, we know that's a pretty manageable number. But what we can do between now and the next time the committee meets is come back with more information on that, on the contracting piece, so that you could have something to compare to for this, if it would make the council, the committee, more comfortable.
But my only concern is if it's used that frequently on cleanups of a lot of different projects, things like that, how easily available. I don't see a lot of big street sweepers at, nations around.
I'm not even sure where you could rent one.
Yeah.
I think renting would be a hard thing to do, and that would be more the issue we would need to do, is rent one so that it would be available for us when we needed it.
All I'm asking, guys, is if you can look into it. We can go around in circles, but that's kind of where I'm at. If we can look in to see if it's even available.
Yeah, we'll do our best to come up with what we can for information for you. Yeah.
So Paul, where do we stand here? I mean, there's nothing to bring forward really.
No, unless there's any objection, what it sounds like is we can let the council know in our meeting this evening that we've asked for just to shop, get a price if a price is available on both catch baits and cleaning as well as street sweeping. If we can get a price on both or just one or whatever, and just so we have something to compare it to the overall purchase price, and then we can set another. Maybe depending on how long it takes to get that, we'll set another meeting and make a decision then to bring to the council.
One last question to Matt and Jay is, out of the three that you put in the paperwork for quotes, is there one you think would be easier to work with, easier for parts, better quality, anything like that?
I think they're very comparable. We have a Johnston now. The Allied supplier seems to be a little easier to work with than Viking on getting parts and whatnot. And it is USA made, so it would be easier to gain some things.
Okay.
I guess the only question I would have then is, in terms of this year, was the plan to not even use the sweeper that we have at present this year at all, or was this the last go round for it, or what was the schedule that we had tentatively figured?
Well, we hope to be discussing this last summer, and it was a circumstances happened, so we kicked it down the road. But we're able to continue using the truck we have, the sweeper we have, but it's basically a pretty constant battle of maintenance and fixing, and it's at that age where there's pretty much something that we have to tend to weekly or even daily.
I think
Yeah.
Jim had a question.
If I may ask a question, the newer models that they're coming out with, the Johnston models, have they addressed the problems of this wear, or are they just calling it an inevitability, or how are they handling that? Did you see anything that looked like their upgrades may have? I mean, it's been 25 years since this one was built. I would think that they would have addressed things like that by now. Did you see any information that told you they had come up with a new innovation or anything along that line?
Well, what I'm seeing in the information and talking to the salesman that we've dealt with is that as far as the wear issues, that is something that's hasn't changed a lot, because it's just a matter of there's so much material and sand and coarse things that go through the machine, it wears it over time. But the rusting, the tub itself that collects the material, those are stainless, and those aren't doing bad as far as rust, but they're wearing as far as the integrity of the sheet metal. And the cover on the very front of that tub that covers the engine and stuff, that is made of a steel, I believe. Isn't that right, Matt? It's not stainless.
Yes.
And that seems to be an industry standard. I'm not seeing offered ones that don't have that regular steel versus the stainless on that front end part where you had pictures with all the rust and stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be just the normal, unfortunately.
Is it possible for this machine to be sent to the manufacturer and rebuilt or rehabbed as far as the components that are wearing out? Do they offer any kind of service like that? I mean, we're talking about a machine that gets few hours by comparison. The age of it really isn't a factor when you come to the amount of use. So I was wondering if they have a rehab program, and if so, how do they address these things? Do they just replace components, or do they have some sort of a coating that they put on them to lengthen the life, or how do they handle it? Do you know?
Well, I believe they offer, they do have both of those things you're talking, like they might have some coatings that they put on certain things, and they basically cut out and replace other parts that are the high wear parts. But I can't say how much that would cost, because I think what they do is they send it to a facility up in Canada, and they basically just cut it all apart and rebuild the whole thing. The last time we were at this point, the town paid for a whole new replacement of that vacuum unit on the back, and that was $100,000 and something for that.
Oh, so that since we've had the machine, that's been done.
That's been done one time, and it was like 10 or 12 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? So yeah, I guess that's what we'll bring forward to the council tonight, is that Jay and Matt will take a look at the other options aside from a purchase, and we'll report back, and we'll meet again at everyone's earliest convenience.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. That was the only item on the agenda. The last item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right.
We're adjourned. See everyone in 9 minutes. Have a good night, everyone.